Let's get into it. Sold Not For Sale podcast. Coach Colin here. Potential lawsuit with Kamala Harris. Joe Rogan touches on it in this clip with Russell Crowe. Pretty good interview. I don't usually listen to these kind of interviews, but I did, of course. And they started talking about Kamala Harris. They're talking about a potential lawsuit that's in the works, and that is because Kamala Harris's campaign was caught altering news headlines and presenting them as though, you know, for example, CNN said this about Kamala Harris, but they didn't actually say XYZ, whatever they came up with. And she did this with at least 10 different media companies. One of them is so angry that they're thinking about suing her, and they may be taking action very soon. We're also going to talk about her policy in regards to the economy, because Joe Rogan brings up something that so many people have brought up before. The fact that this woman is saying, hey, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. Day one, you'll see. You're in office right now. You could do these things right now. It's almost like she's withholding all of these great things she could do for the presidency. Give me that power first, and then I'll do it. So we're going to be talking a little bit about her economic plans, and then I have a clip of her actually talking about how she's going to pay for all these things. And you'll find that very interesting, I guarantee it. But let's start off with the Joe Rogan clip. As always, let's go.
American politics more than ever, because the person that's actually in office is saying what she's going to do if she gets into office.
Right.
Which is just like,
you're there.
You're there. Listen.
But it was used in the Andrew Lloyd Webber, Tim Rice musical Evita. Politics is the art of the possible. You know, so it's not not really connected to anything. It's like, what can we get away with?
Right. What can we tell you that we're going to do and then never do it?
Right. It's the art of the possible.
Well, you're seeing that now in American politics more than ever, because the person that's actually in office is saying what she's going to do if she gets into office.
Right.
Which is just like,
you're there.
You're there. This is madness. Like, this is, and people are like, yeah, she's going to do it. Like, she's been in there for 3 years. Like, what are you talking about? This is crazy. But people want to believe so badly. We want someone to be the person that rescues us from whatever situation we're currently in, and that's always been the case.
And the unfortunate thing is, and it affects, you know, Australia as much as it affects here. You know, we have such an aggressive media situation, and the media's need for new information, news stories, whatever that you know that timeline is. You're just not going to get people of quality stepping into that world anymore.
No,
you know,
no. Who'd want to put themselves through that?
There's probably hundreds of potentially incredible presidents.
Oh yeah,
in this country, but they're too smart to walk that way. You know.
Yeah, it's a real problem. It's a real problem. It's only going to get worse. And our desire and our hunger for bullshit, and to focus on what did he do when he was in high school?
Right.
You know, what did she say when she was on Twitter when she was 22? Like, what? The f are you talking about? Like, we have to put that shit aside, recognize that people are just human beings, and stop dragging out old just to make your party win, because it ruins the entire system.
Yeah, well, that is the thing, isn't it? It's just like, you know, picking a color, and no matter what happens under the banner of that color, you're just sticking with the color. It's like, well, that's not really going to help any of us.
No.
You know, that's not the way it's going to go.
I don't know what your political system's like, but we're completely trapped in this two-party system.
Yeah, we have the same sort of situation. But we have a very interesting thing that's happening in Australia at the moment, which is the rise of independence. And it's happened federally and also at a state level too, but also in city government as well, where non-party affiliated people are standing. And so now you have a situation where in the parliament you have a group of them. There's, you know, I don't know the exact number, it's 10 or 15 or something independents. So, you know, the main party has to deal with the fact that those independents are going to bring a non-party line series of points to the argument. You know, and it's working well. You know, it's working for us in that it's making both of the main parties re-examine who they are and what they stand for. You know,
yeah, we could use that here for sure.
Because people are just so sick of that.
Yeah,
you know, color choice.
Yeah,
they're reaching for something else.
Well, it's also people recognize that a lot of us that claim to be on one side or the other, really are somewhere in the middle. Most people have opinions that are a little bit of a conglomeration of both conservative and liberal perspectives, especially like liberal socially, fiscally conservative. There's a lot of people like that, and they're not represented. They're
not at the moment.
No, not at the moment. And in this country, it's the worst that's ever been in terms of the polarization of the two sides.
Right.
And what you think of the other side as an idiot, no matter what. No matter what, that person's got to be a moron. They think differently than I do, or they support this side, I support that side, and I'm all in on my team, and they're all in. It's a tribal thing, as tribal as any other thing that we have in the world, and in this country, it just doesn't work, and we just get captivated by corporations because of that. And it's also the money in politics is so extraordinary, which is something that should have never been allowed to happen.
Yeah, the old, those campaign fundraising situations and the amount of money they just pour into, but also the rules around the engagement. You know what I mean? The rules of, what you can say in an ad that's negative about the other person. It's like, come on, it's ridiculous. It's like these apocalyptic 2-minute blasts that come out of your television. It's just all bullshit. Right. But if you're leaning that way, then it helps your outrage. And it helps you confirm that, yes, well, that's, I'm against that, But when it's just a series of exaggerations and lies, and it just doesn't help anybody.
Well, in this country, Kamala Harris recently got caught because the campaign was using articles, and they changed the article. They changed, like, the titles of the article. They put out, like, fake positive articles.
Right.
And the fact that you can do something like that, you can persuade people to think that people are writing about something when you're actually putting it out there, which is just bananas. Right. It's just a complete manipulation of the zeitgeist.
We've got a situation in Australia at the moment where politicians are suing people for, what they say is the loss of their reputation or whatever, right? Because that person might have commented somewhere on social media or something and said, X person is X, and so now certain politicians have worked out, I can make money out of this.
Oh, Jesus.
So they're using their privileged position to then go and destroy somebody's life who might have called them a name on social media.
Jesus Christ.
Really, mate? It's a bit much.
Yeah, you got to put a stop to that. If you're in the public eye, you got to recognize people are going to throw rocks.
Absolutely, man. As you're standing for Parliament, or Congress or whatever, it goes with the territory, mate.
Yeah, and it stifles free speech because it scares people into censorship.
Right. Well, that's where it gets really dark.
Yeah.
So now you're saying that you can't make a negative comment about somebody who's in power because they will now take your house away.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's dark.
Yeah.
Well, in the UK, there's a lot of people that are getting jailed too. It's a very bizarre time for free speech when we should have the most. We have the most access to information that's ever been available, and because of that, people are now weaponizing that access. Right. Instead of it's not like there's someone in the pub listening to you say something negative about a politician, but when you say something on Twitter or on Facebook to your group of friends, you think of it as the same as you saying something in a pub.
Right.
Like, this is my opinion, that guy.
Right.
And all of a sudden you're in a lawsuit with that guy.
Right. It's not good.
And you don't have any money. And you're like, oh, Jesus.
Do you use Twitter and things like that?
Occasionally. Yeah. I do what I call post and ghost. I post it, and then I don't read nothing about what I said. Just get out of there.
Right.
I don't want to be involved in anybody else's opinions.
I used to like it, man. I was probably a relatively early adopter, of it. But for a while there, it was like, oh, this is the thing that we've been looking for, in that I can put a post up here saying that I'm going to do a show in Germany, and I don't have to spend $1 on advertising,
right?
Or do the interviews and stuff, And for a while there, it was really potent, but it's definitely dropped off. It seems like there's a whole lot of people, the people that you'd want to be reading your stuff, that have just decided, my life's a lot better if I don't.
Yeah, that's the problem.
If I just get away from this negativity.
Well, there's so.
The first tweet was about eating cereal or something like that. The first, user, somebody just saying, I'm eating the cereal right now. And the last one that I read was about Kamala Harris altering news articles. I also read a couple from a presidential candidate that you might know, Donald J. Trump. So glad he's back on X, I have to say. So glad that gentleman has come back to X. Now all I'm waiting for, he's putting out tweets, he's talking about Kamala, he's doing it. I'm just waiting. He just needs to actually at her. he needs to actually start saying things to Kamala Harris, to her campaign. That's it. Landslide. He starts doing that. I can't wait to see some of that. Now, this is her. Actually, let's do this first. This is what she's come up with. It's called the opportunity economy. So I'm not going to lie to you. A lot of it doesn't quite make sense, but it feels really good. And that's what a lot of people have been saying about Kamala Harris, that she has the vibes. The vibes are on point, but the policies are very muddled. Listen to this.
Here's a few things I believe. Middle-class families, like the one I grew up in, they want common sense solutions. You want lower prices and lower taxes. I believe you want to just not get by, but you want to get ahead. We must create an opportunity economy where everyone has a chance to get a car loan, buy a home, start a business. But most of all, that instead of being focused on the politics of the past, we need to be thinking about the future. I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message. Here's a few.
Get by, get ahead. My family was, we were poor too, just like you, and just a lot of that, She's talking about an opportunity economy, and that sounds fantastic. Even I like the sound of an opportunity economy, but the things that it comes with are very odd. I mean, taxing unrealized gains. I don't know if a lot of here's my loose way of trying to explain that. The taxing of unrealized gains. Unrealized gains, we can say in regards to like the stock market. So you have bought Bitcoin skyrockets. You bought it at 20,000. It's now at 90,000. You have an unrealized gain. She wants to be able to tax that. How it works now is you have made that money, but you haven't sold it, right? No harm, no foul. It's sitting there. As soon as you pull that into your bank account, as soon as you bring that into the real world, let's say, then you got to pay the money because now you've made some money. You had, 20,000, you bought one Bitcoin. It was 20 grand. You've made $70,000. Now you got to pay tax on the 70,000. She wants you to have to be responsible for the tax before you sell it. And here's the thing. How does that even work in regards to, let's say you don't sell it and you have made 70,000 and then it goes down, as it obviously will, because everything fluctuates. And now you've only made 50. Whoa, what's going on? You got to pay the 50 now? Are you going to have to pay the 70? Are you going to have to pay both? What's going to happen there? It's not a good thing. There's also a child tax. It's about $6,000. She's going to talk about that a little more, but just a lot of flowery talk, get by, get ahead. We're all going to be able to make money. We're all going to be able to buy houses. That's not how things work. I know enough to know that. Now, here is her answering a question flat out, how she plans to pay for all this. Listen to this answer. I hope it's loud enough for you guys. If you have your volume low, turn it up a little bit because this volume's not all that great. But listen to this.
You unveiled your economic policies last week.
Yeah.
Can you explain how you're going to pay for those? And can you give us a sense of what other policies you want to unveil going forward?
Sure. Well, you just look at it in terms of what we are talking about, for example, around children and the child tax credit and extending the EITC. It's at $6,000 for the first year of a child's life. The return on that investment in terms of what that will do and what it will pay for will be tremendous. We've seen it when we did it in the first year of our administration. We reduced child poverty by over 50%. So that's a lot of the work. And then what we're doing in terms of the tax credits, we know that there's a great return on that investment. And when we increase home ownership in America, what that means in terms of increasing the tax base, not to mention property tax base, what that does to fund schools, again, return on investment. I think it's a mistake for any person who talks about public policy to not critically evaluate how you measure the return on investment. When you are strengthening neighborhoods, strengthening communities, and in particular the economy of those communities, and investing in a broad-based economy, everybody benefits, and it pays for itself in that way.
Oh, my bad. Sorry. Anyway, she was saying how it's all going to pay for itself. And that is not going to happen. But also, she's saying these things that you don't really want to argue with. She's talking about solving child poverty, which I've never heard child poverty. I thought, most children are with families. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a kid living in a 1-bedroom apartment somewhere, and he's like, I can't get by. I can't buy any milk. I need milk. My bones. I don't know. But you don't want to get in front of that, right? You don't want to be the person to say, screw child poverty. So she's just saying that there's a return on investment, and there will be a return on investment because the neighborhoods will do better. But it's not really making sense. The person asked her point blank, how are you going to pay for all this? The $6,000 for each child has to come from somewhere. The $25,000 that she's proposing for all new home buyers is going to have to come from somewhere. There's going to be millions of people who want access to this. Millions of people who are first-time home buyers. It's not just going to be young people. There's people who are 40 right now who are like, first-time home buyer here. I'd like my $25,000. And then also there's the aspect of what might people do who are selling houses. Are they just going to jack it up 25 grand because they know that they can in their head? They're like, this person's going to get 25 grand. Let's just throw 25 on top. I don't know. But it's very, very flimsy, everything she's talking about. This is what Vivek has to say about the unrealized gains. I hope I can actually play this. If not, I'll just explain it afterwards.
For Kamala Harris's part, though, I think she owes the people of this country an answer. Where does she stand on nationalizing healthcare? Are you for it or are you against it? Where do you stand? This is a big one that people don't talk about. Affects small business owners, including black and white business owners across the country. She favors what's called a tax on unrealized capital gains. What that means is, even if you have a business, you're a businessman too, right? So you're operating a business, but take somebody who's maybe in a tougher position than you are. That means you have to pay taxes even when you don't have the cash to pay those taxes because the government says that it's worth something and you have to pay 25% of that value every year. Well, what if you don't have the cash in your pocket? That forces you to either sell your business, take out a loan to pay taxes. That's a formula for real economic calamity. She has consistently supported that. That's what we need to be talking about. Are you still in favor of it? If so, why? Let's have that policy debate. And I think that hiding from those issues is something that leaves the American people holding the bag.
So, just so you know, she is still in favor. This was a little ways back when Vivek actually sat down with these guys, but she is in favor of that. That is something that she wants to do, and who knows what kind of calamity that will actually cause. A lot of people are saying it'll cause a second Great Depression. I don't know if it's going to be that far, but it's not impossible for a country to be like Venezuela, to be insanely wealthy, to be very well off, and to become, and no offense to anybody from there, to become a failed nation, to have inflation go up 800% based on a very similar thing she actually introduced, which was price controlling. The person that was running Venezuela introduced that, and 2 years later, inflation was up 800%, and that person who was in charge was just saying, oh, this is not my fault. There are people who are withholding resources to make me fail. That's all this is. A lot of that, this is not real communism type of talk was coming from this person. Now let's move on to the potential lawsuit and what was happening there. Now, Kamala Harris campaign team is editing news headlines in her favor without outlets' knowledge. Now, I'm sure MSNBC doesn't mind. I'm sure MSNBC is like, fine, whatever. I'm almost positive that they would be fine with it. I mean, they're very much on Kamala Harris's side for the most part. I mean, you might have a person here or there that might say something. Here are all the outlets that she actually did this with. Should I make this bigger? Let's make this bigger. Let's see how big we can make this. Let's see. Thank you, Sarah Fisher. So we got AP News here. She did USA Today, CNN, NPR. Over here, we got The Independent, co.uk. We got Reuters, however you like to say it. We got The Guardian. We got W Day Radio Now. And those are actually the people who are very upset with what Kamala Harris did. Now, I will read a little bit of this. Let me shrink this back down to size. I'm not that old yet that I need that big of text. You know what? But I am this old. I need this big of text. Why not? Why it matters. It's common practice in the commercial advertising world that doesn't violate Google's policies, but the ad mimics real news results from search closely enough that they have news outlets caught off guard. The news outlets just didn't know this was going to happen. You know, Kamala Harris is working hand in hand with the media, so I'm sure her campaign was like, this is going to be fine. Who's not embracing you right now? I mean, the only people that they didn't do was Fox, because Fox would have been like, oh, we're suing you. We have the money. We have billions of dollars. According to Google's Ad Transparency Center, the Trump campaign is not running ads like this. Of course not. But this technique has been used by campaigns before, which is also really good to know. Really, you should really look out for this. That's what that means. Obviously, Trump's not going to do this, not because Trump is some angel, but it's because a Trump headline that says, Trump is great, and it's MSNBC, you'd be like, what am I seeing right now? You would question that right away. So I guess his campaign's just smart enough to just stay away from that type of stuff. Plus, they don't really need to. The ads say that they are sponsored, but it is not immediately clear. Yeah, that's the thing. People will see it. Some people will not. Some people will understand that this is just a real thing that, you know, CNN said. And why wouldn't you believe that? CNN says all sorts of gobbledygook constantly. What they're saying, while we understand why an organization might wish to align itself with the Guardian's trusted brand, we ensure that it is being used properly. With our permission, we'll be reaching out to Google for more information about this practice, a Guardian spokesperson said. Now, in actuality, this is actually okay by Google standards. Google's like, this is fine. I can take a news article and I can doctor it in my web browser or however I do it, Photoshop, whatever I choose to do, and I can make it say that MSNBC absolutely loves Coach Colin's take on Joy Reid's hairline. And it's all good, apparently. And I can just pump that into Google and put all sorts of money behind it, and they're fine with that. Spokespersons for brands such as CNN, USA Today, and NPR, whose link appears in Harris's presented ad, said that they were unaware of the brand. See, they don't care. They're like, we were unaware, but it's fine as long as she wins. Did you hear Quentin Tarantino? Did you hear what he said recently on Bill Maher? He was like, as long as we win, because Bill Maher was like, she should be interacting with the media. And Quentin Tarantino was like, I don't give an F. He's like, it's about winning. Who cares how we look? It's about us winning. We have to win. We have to win. It was so unhinged and odd. Should I just show it to you guys? I know it's off topic completely, but you know, let me just finish this off and I'll show you guys that little impromptu, little reality check. This is just where it talks about it's completely okay. Now, there was one company that was not okay with this whatsoever. They were actually very heated about this because they are a very small news company. So what they say and what they do and who they stand behind really, really matters to them. They've been at this for a long time, and they're actually one company that tries to stay middle of the road. They really, really do. The CEO is thinking about suing. The CEO is also family. This is a family-owned brand, so they're actually really heated. They're saying here, we feel insulted and violated by what was done. His name is Steve Hullstorm, the president of the Flag Media Company, the Flag Family Media Company. He also says here, you have a political campaign that used our brand and our URL to effectively lie to people about the headlines that we wrote. They lied to every single person that saw that ad. It's misleading, it's dishonest, and it hurts us as the company, our news brand. As of today, we are starting to make some calls. We are considering all of our options, including legal action. I hope they do it. Oh, I hope they do it. You know, Trump shouldn't be the only one just mucked up in lawsuits all the time. Why not? You know, spread it around, spread the wealth. You know, I'm sure it'll do nothing but help her. I think Trump's the only one where it really helps when he gets into a lawsuit, I have to say. I don't know if that helps everybody. We never wrote anything close to what was alleged here. They took two different unrelated stories that we did have on our website, sort of smashed them together, and then from there, they rewrote a few words to make it look like our news organization was cheering on the selection of Walz. So, yeah, they're really upset. I'll read this last thing before I show you guys some other stuff. I've heard all the excuses about how this meets the approval of Google ad criteria, and I don't care. When you see that ad, you may understand that it's an ad. That any reasonable human being would look at that and say, oh, the campaign, they found a story or a headline on a website that's good for them. Exactly. That's exactly it. 100%. This guy is 100% in the right, and this news company will be pursuing legal action. I hope. Very much so. Anyways, you know what? I'll throw you just this little clip. I was going to make a different video out of this, but check out what Quentin Tarantino is saying in regards to Kamala Harris not getting in front of any interviews, no press conferences, doing the thing that even Joe Biden was willing to do, the thing that Trump has been doing nonstop since he announced that he was running for president, the thing that JD Vance, in the short time he's been announced as the VP selection of Trump, has done at least 100 different interviews and podcasts. That thing, she hasn't done that at all. Listen to this.
Bigger issue is the left and their ability or their desire to engage with anyone who's not already in the bubble. And they get a big fat D- on that.
I couldn't agree more.
Right. I mean, you see Kamala. I mean, I'm glad she's doing well. I'm glad we have a real fight now for president. But doesn't talk to the press, would never go near me. And when you won't go near the people who are going to vote for you,
yeah,
I'm going to vote for you. Do I have to love everything? No, I don't. It just shows they're afraid. And you're right. I see it so much.
Well, hold on. I don't. Okay, you know what? I don't see her. Well, there's no reason for her to go on your show before the election, but I can actually see her.
Yes, there is. Because I speak to the exact voter she needs, the person who is in the middle, the person who is not ideologically captured by either side. Now, there are some who watch who are that, and everyone is welcome. I need a bigger audience all the time. I'm greedy that way. But basically, that's exactly the audience she needs. The MSNBC crowd is already voting for her. People who watch me, who will decide, this election will probably be decided in like 4 states by something like 80,000 votes in each. That's how these elections, how close they are these days. And that's where we're back to. We're at least back to normal, which sucked, but it is normal that it's 50-50 going into the election. With Biden, it wouldn't have been.
Let me ask you about this, though. Okay, look, there's nothing you said that isn't right. All right. And there's definitely nothing you said that isn't right in a normal election cycle. I mean, it's irrefutably right in a normal election cycle where you have a year to set your case. I think they're just all about winning the fucking election, all right? And then the easiest path to winning the election, look, you can talk about maybe she should have had more guts about this or that and the other, but we're the fucking president.
Right.
And Trump's not the president, and we're the fucking president, and now it's going to be about this. But this is about fucking winning. What most people don't give the Democrats enough credit for, all right, but we give the Republicans credit for. It's like, no, sometimes it's just about fucking winning. And it doesn't matter how we look at this moment. It's about fucking winning.
Right.
This is about fucking winning.
Yep. No, it is.
It's a mad fucking dash, and she is running, and she's not stopping to stumble.
And you know what?
And there's nothing wrong with stopping this. I'm going to vote for her fucking anyway, no matter what she says in a stupid fucking interview.
Exactly.
So don't it up.
That is the mindset. That is the mindset. And you know what? I gotta say, I'm sorry if I just ruined Quentin for you. I'm sorry. I know I ruined Robert De Niro for a lot of people. He did it to himself, okay? Wasn't me. Ruined Jack Black for some people. Hey, not my fault. He did it to himself. Sorry about Quentin. I know. Listen, still watch the movies. It's fine. But it just shows how unhinged the mindset is. He said, we are president. Did you hear that? He said, we are president. That's all that matters. Completely unhinged. Anyways, guys, I just wanted to bring you that really quick. Kamala Harris may be seeing a lawsuit. I would love to see that. I might even try and interview that CEO. But anyways, guys, like, subscribe, turn on the notifications. Yeah, that's what we say, because it helps the channel tremendously. And other than that, I'm out.